Bombshell is out now, a movie I was pretty excited for, mainly because of the cast, but ended up being pretty conflicted about. So the film stars Charlize Theron, Nicole Kidman, Margot Robbie, and John Lithgow, plus a myriad of faces that you don't necessarily connect with a name right away, but instantly recognize them from another movie or TV series. It's based on a real story, and unlike many such movies, that story did not happen decades or centuries in the past. The film takes place in 2015 and 2016, so it's pretty fresh. And the main topic is how the rampant sexual abuse within the ranks of Fox News came to light, starting at the very top with Roger Ailes, the chairman at the time. The story is told from three perspectives. Nicole Kidman plays Gretchen Carlson, who is the first to speak out and after years of gathering evidence, finally goes to court after she's fired from the station. Charlize Theron plays Megyn Kelly, another station anchor who you could say is at the emotional heart of the conflict because on the one hand, strictly personally speaking, she would prefer to also speak out because she has had unpleasant experiences in the past. But she's concerned about her career and the careers of her team, so she's torn, between doing the right thing and doing the convenient thing. And finally, Margot Robbie plays the only one of the main characters that is fictional, a young journalist named Kayla Pospisil. She's only starting out at Fox, and through her eyes we get to see how these young women were groomed and systematically, well, broken. So first thing I want to point out about the film is the quality of makeup and hairstyling. The movie has swept pretty much every award in that category so far, and deservedly so. It's almost unbelievable how unlike themselves and like their characters instead, people in this film look. Particularly Charlize Theron, who becomes a dead ringer for Megyn Kelly, and John Lithgow, who I wouldn't be able to recognize on my own under all that Roger Ailes makeup if I didn't see his name in the opening credits. Stellar job, and in this regard, there is no doubt of the movie's excellency. With that out of the way, I want to talk about why I'm conflicted about the film. On the one hand, I think it's an important movie. It takes a story that 100% needs to be told, and it tries to approach that story in an accessible way, resembling Spotlight and The Big Short in this aspect. It's also really good acting wise, and it's evident that especially the main three actresses poured their hearts into the film and cared about it. It wasn't just a paycheck. And some parts of the story are told really well. Robbie's interaction with Ailes, the rampant hypocrisy among the Fox staff, the conversation between Theron and Jennifer Morrison's character, they all hit pretty hard. But the problem is that it felt like a lot of other times the movie had no restraint in terms of really hammering the point. There are many scenes where you think to yourself, okay, I get it, I get the point, but then they spell it out for you two more times. It's very on the nose and very tiring, and kind of disrespectful towards the audience as well. And I think it takes away from the movie as a whole, because you clearly have a good story to tell, but you're spoiling it by having zero subtlety at all. It's like, okay, it's like imagine you have someone telling you a story that's interesting and riveting, but there is another person in the conversation that interrupts the main guy all the time to explain what was just said in some snarky and ironic comment. And you're like, mate, I got this. You don't have to do that. You don't have to treat me like a moron. But they continue to do that. And following that analogy, I think in the film, that snarky and ironic guy is unfortunately the director. I think his inability to rein himself in is the biggest fault of Bombshell. There's also a secondary problem which brings me back to Spotlight and The Big Short, especially the latter one. Due to the nature of the story, that film used a lot of jargon and relied heavily on straight exposition if the audience were to understand anything. Bombshell tries to do the same thing in the first act, with Theron breaking the fourth wall multiple times and explaining to us the inner workings of Fox. But I felt like the execution of that was also clumsy, because there were still moments in the first 30 minutes of the film where I struggled to catch up with what was going on. The dialogue was too fast and the film felt almost out of breath, just running forward, throwing scenes and lines at me. It does eventually slow down, but I thought that the beginning was just a bit overwhelming, and it may discourage some viewers who will then care less for the rest. So again, let me repeat, I think Bombshell does have something to say, and I think it's important that the story is out there, but it could have been executed much better, especially with this cast.